All right, good afternoon, y'all. Welcome. We are Second Line Arts Collective. My name is Gregory Agid. We got Darrian Douglas in the house.
Hey, I'm here.
And we're joined by the one and only Mr. Max Moran over here in his
Hey, what's up, y'all?
cool bass studio with his SM7
Yeah.
microphone.
It's
Private.
borrowed.
It's
Max,
borrowed.
don't give
SM7.
the secrets behind the curtain away, man. Come on, bro.
Sorry.
Did
No,
you
man.
borrow those guitars in the background too?
I actually don't know how to play any of those. They just they look good on the wall.
Man,
Okay.
I very specifically remember that the black one in the middle because I remember you showed up to the gig one time on a Tuesday, and I was like, what the heck is that? And you were like, oh, it's a bass, it's acoustic bass guitar. I lent my bass to Barry Stevenson because he needed it, and I was like, no.
I remember
That's
that.
what's up.
But then how'd it go though? How'd the gig go?
I no, but I always finish the story by saying I really like the way that bass sounded. I was so shocked. I'm still shocked.
It's not the instrument. It's the person that plays the instrument.
All right.
That's true.
Wax on, wax on.
For those of you who don't know, Max is an amazing bass player, composer, band leader, and also a wonderful therapist. So
Really?
if you ever need someone to talk to, I would
Oh,
recommend hitting Max up. But
okay.
Max, how you doing? What's how's the storm looking in Slidell?
Man, it's we're being pummeled with blue skies and sunshine at the moment. So it's all good.
All
This is
right.
like I feel like this is like the third or fourth hurricane where, at least in the last like 2 or 3 years, where there's something coming and then it's just immaculate weather for like 3 days. But
Yeah.
I guess it's better than the other option.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but it's so far so good.
That's what's up. Yo, I want to jump right in, Max. And for the people out there, again, Max Moran here is a bass player and a wonderful band leader. He has a band called Neospectric, right? Did I say it right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I can't remember all the cats who are in the band, but they some bad dudes, and you can look it up on Spotify or all the other places. Just type in Max Moran and Neospectric and dig the sounds. I would say that your music is funk music, right?
Yeah. You could say that. A lot of the stuff on the record is funky.
What would you call it?
I I um I have never come up with a very good answer for that question.
Okay,
You know.
we, I got one. Black classical music. All right, coming from the New Orleans tradition, because like New Orleans funk is different from like Parliament funkadelic funk or
Mhm.
like James Brown funk. You know what I mean? It comes from a different place. Can you kind of talk about some of your influences and where your music came from?
Yeah. Man, that's like a really interesting and important distinction that you bring up. And I mean the first song on the record is heavily influenced by P Funk.
Okay.
So like I love them and they're definitely a big influence. But when you talk about New Orleans funk, my big influence is the Meters.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to a lot of stuff like that at the time when I was like writing those songs.
Right. Yeah.
Um
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I mean, I guess you could say like actually I saw in a documentary that George Clinton said that the Meters were really like the first funk band. Even
Really? That's
yeah,
Really?
what George Clinton said.
he said that he said they were like the only funk band, doing it at the time. And then
Wow.
everybody else kind of came after them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see that, man. But to me, maybe Louis Armstrong was the first funk band. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that shit that's funky, man.
Yeah.
Like I really believe that a lot of black music came straight out of like Louis, and then if you get to a person like Ahmad Jamal, like live at the Pershing Lounge, you're like, wait a minute, that sounds like hip hop all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Just kind of
Yeah.
so it's all kind of intermingled
Yeah.
into one thing.
To
Yeah.
make to kind of add to what Darian was saying earlier, man, New Orleans is like such a unique place in the sense that, when when you grew up in New Orleans like you did, Max, like you get a chance to like really see the musical, the diversity of music that happens within the city, you know. And I'm always like perplexed when I meet someone from out of town who has an idea of what New Orleans music is, and a lot of times it gets stereotyped to like Louis Armstrong or, you know, Sidney Bechet, traditional jazz more specifically. But what's also cool is like there's like a whole traditional jazz scene, there's a modern jazz scene, there's New Orleans funk, there's New Orleans rap, there's New Orleans rock and roll, there's all kinds of New Orleans music, and including yourself. And I was wondering if you could talk about like maybe like dig more into like some of like the musical influences, because not only are you influenced by funk music, but you know you also a very accomplished jazz bassist.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, another big influence is Donald Harrison, who y'all know that I spent like 11 years in his band,
Mhm.
and I learned, I mean, an immense amount of stuff from him. I really like probably learned more about music from him than anybody
Right.
else. Uh, and so he was somebody that I saw like in doing the creative process, like when we would record records of his, as he would be writing the songs in the studio, you know, and getting to see that was super influential, just because as he's going through something on the piano, working out what works and what doesn't, he would kind of be telling us about his process sometimes, you know,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
oh, see, this works because I'm doing this, and this doesn't work because you can't put those two things together, but
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
he's made a style of his own from, like Darrian said, things being mixed together, nouveau swing. His style is literally mixing the swing pattern, the swing beat, with uh more modern music that's
Mm.
more backbeat driven,
Yeah.
so yeah, seeing him and learning about his process definitely like has inspired the way that I think about, composing or writing or playing even,
Absolutely, man. Donald is and if you don't know, go ahead and Google Donald Harrison. Open another window. Don't close us out. But he's a beautiful musician because he doesn't exclude anything in the music. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you hear people playing music and you can tell they only listen to bluegrass, you know, or they only listen to country music. But Donald is one of those rare dudes, like kind of like Miles Davis and people like that who combine it all. And it's like everything is relevant. You know what I mean? Like Tank and Bangers, that's relevant, but also Tupac and like every other genre of music that has ever influenced him.
yeah,
And also he's kind of just like a sage, right? Like a wise dude, right? So
very
yeah,
wise, yeah.
I mean,
You
Duck is
know,
also like the cool dude. Like, not only did he combine all the forms of music, but he can actually like authentically play swing. He could shred on some, you know, Mr.
yeah.
PC, and then you can go and play on like any, you know, any tune out there.
Probably on
Um,
your instrument, bro.
yeah,
yeah,
probably on your instrument too.
for real.
But again, like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's got so much diversity in like what, you know, he can pick from anything.
and that's something he tried to teach us too, is that, how to learn a style authentically and really dig into it, what
Mhm.
into all the things that make a style, and also not limiting yourself to one because they're all valid,
Absolutely, absolutely. Man, you know, me and Greg were kind of talking before you got on, and we were kind of curious about your time with Mr. Jesse McBride,
Sure.
and I think you guys have a band, another band with Conan and Joe Dyson, and I think the three of you were also with Jesse. Like you got everybody, yeah, y'all had all the gigs, so nobody hired me or because yeah, no, I'm just joking, but so it'd be interesting to hear kind of what that time with Jesse was like.
Yeah, Jesse, I actually met Jesse. Me and Greg were on a trip. We You remember?
Oh.
We were on a trip with
Yeah, I do remember now.
we went to Clovis, New Mexico
Clovis.
Whoa.
with Alvin Baptiste,
Oh my
and
god.
Okay.
Jesse was on piano in the band. But
Oh, word.
Mr. Bat brought me, Greg, uh, Will Bloom
Will
on
Bloom,
clarinet.
Wow.
Peebles.
Yeah, Joey, man. So that, I mean, but Jesse acted like he already knew me, and to my knowledge, that was like the first time I met him. But he acted like we already knew each other,
I'm
and
pretty sure that's how Jesse acts with everybody.
from then on, he's been like a big brother, you know.
Cool.
Um,
Nice.
but yeah, playing with him, having him like kick my butt and tell me, uh, just tell me things with not much filter, you know, be very real and honest. But
Oh.
for some reason, I knew we always got along, and I knew that like he wasn't telling me anything to be a jerk or be mean. He was telling me stuff because he wanted me to know, you know.
Yeah. Now, was this at? There used to be this place in New Orleans called Donna's, which is kind
Mhm.
of famous. Was it? Were you over there with him? Or is that where you started, or was it at somewhere else?
I did play with him a couple times there,
Mm.
and we played a bunch at this place called the Steak Knife
Oh,
on
word.
Monterey,
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
which they probably don't even have music anymore. But we had like a regular gig for a little while. Me, him, and Joe, and Dyson, Joe Dyson, and
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
we also played at Prime a bunch and private gigs or whatever. But and also just getting together to shed. Sometimes we were just playing just to play, and
Was this
a lot of just hanging out and listening to music too.
was
Mhm.
this before college or after college?
I think mostly after
Mostly
college.
after.
I think
Can
that's
can
when we
can we
hung
back
the
up just a
most.
little bit too and
Yeah.
talk about like how like you, Conan, and Joe kind of became the bridge trio, and talk because you guys have like y'all are like a quintessential rhythm section here in New Orleans, and y'all have been like
Yeah.
playing together since. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. We played together since high school. Uh, and then we decided to like kind of officially form a band like our senior year of high school.
Mhm.
And it was around the end of the year, uh, when everybody was doing what's it called? The last concert you do,
Oh,
Recitals.
no
recitals.
recitals. Okay.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
all of us, we got three musicians. Oh, what's it called when you do something at the end
It's
of a semester and you
Yeah, man.
graduate?
It's no gigs for
A
5 months, bro.
gig? They're called
Yeah,
finals.
yeah.
Finals.
Senior recitals. We asked if we could play a recital together as a group, um, and the teacher said yes, and that was like our first kind of performance as a band, you know.
Okay.
And then from then on, we just kept it going and recorded 2 records. Um, yeah, I mean, I just feel like we have we're all really good friends, but we also just kind of have a musical connection that is pretty special to us, and
Yeah.
really, it's just really fun to play with each other
Yeah.
and challenging. Also, we all so
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all some bad dudes. All those dudes are bad. So go to Spotify and check out those records out too, because those are really dope records. And they're completely different from your band, Neospectric.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thank
totally unique. Can you talk about the bridge trios? Actually, so the first time when you were talking about your senior recital over at Noka, I remember going to the senior recital, and then that night y'all played with Alvin Baptiste at Snug Harbor. And so the bridge trio, and it's funny because he introduced y'all as he's like, I'm Alvin Baptiste, and tonight I have the pleasure of introducing for the first time a new band, and he introduced the bridge trio. And so he was kind of talking. It wasn't like the Alvin Baptiste quartet. It was Alvin Baptiste featuring the Bridge Trio that night.
you.
But can you talk about your time with Mr. Bat and how that influenced the trio, the Bridge Trio, but also like your experiences as a musician past that point?
Sure. Yeah, and he was very gracious to do that too, to you know introduce these kids as their their own band instead of just his band. He was so open and selfless. You know,
Mhm.
um, but it definitely had a big impact on us because now we all share that bond of being in his band together. You know, and I feel like he influenced us in one way because he was so free and open. He gave us like so much space and just liberty to do what we wanted to do with the music, you know, and that was really special. So we kind of try to bring that to the bridge trio also. It's like even though we have compositions, we have forms and structures and plans of how things are going to go, but there's also a lot of times where something can go completely, that all of that can go out the window at any moment, and just like being open to that freedom and like trusting each other that we can kind of decide to just uh call an audible and go out into space that we've like never been in before,
Mm.
and then try to make it back. Is like, I feel like something we began honing in his band.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
He
Yeah,
was
man.
very trusting to allow that to happen because it's funny, like after, I guess we all kind of took his energy and teachings for granted in high school just because that was just our point of reference. But like leaving high school and experiencing other people, other teachers and musicians who are much more rigid, still making great music but having a whole nother approach to the music. But it was funny too because like as loose and go with the moment as Mr. Bat could be, he could also like but he was very trusting in people. So I know he had a lot of trust in y'all because he would not have done that with other people. I remember one time he said something like, he's like, never go on stage with children or live animals because you never know what they're gonna do.
Wow, man.
So just he was really trusting in y'all too. He knew y'all could hang with whatever was going on.
And also he was there to like catch us if something wasn't going right, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
And he would do that too. He would step in, if he'll let you go and you go as far as you want to go, but then ultimately he was the captain of the ship, so if things were going too far out, he'd be like, okay, here here it is now.
Right.
Y'all stop
Yeah.
that.
That's
but
what's
uh
up, man.
but in a totally cool way though. It was
Mhm.
never like a bad vibe or anything.
Yeah.
We understood it was just about the music.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's what's up, man. I'm curious now because I feel like we're on a spiritual vibe, bro. Like we're getting into some spirituality and like what is your why? Like why do you even create anything?
Hmm, that's a great question. um I think I have to. um I mean, I think the answer can change because it depends on how you feel, at least for me. And if you want to be more kind of highbrow about it, it's that like, you know the world needs music, and you want to like help other people with bringing like positivity into the world. And that's true, but I feel like that's also kind of sometimes maybe that's a little bit of ego too, you know. um I think the more real answer is that I have to, like, for myself.
Right. No, I can totally get with that, man. I feel that way, and I'm sure Greg feels a similar way too. Is sometimes you have to create in order to live. You know, I like to think of it like, if there is a God and God created us, then my job is also to create. If I am in fact in His image, you know what I mean? Because it's like, why would God not create a God? So it's like every day I have to create something because it's in here, and it's just like, oh, let me out, you know. And on the days that I don't do that are the worst days that I have on this planet. So even if it's just cooking some eggs in a special way, I gotta get it done. You know what I mean? It's that serious, and I take great pride in that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing we always have to remember too. It's like, like the creativity is always in everything that we do. When we wake up in the morning and we choose to like step out of bed a certain way, that's creativity. I mean, that's what Kid Jordan used to always say. He's like, he would say, man, normal people wake up and they do the same thing every day. They wake up, they get out of bed the same way, they take a shower, they wash the same part of their body at the same time, the same way, they take the same way to work. But it's like, that's the cool thing about being human too. It's like everything is creative, man, from cooking your eggs in the morning to playing with Mr. Bat at Snug Harbor and so on.
Yes.
We have to embrace that too. And I think that's the power of the arts. And, that's why it's important to have arts in school is, where even if you don't think of yourself as an artistic person, we all are in touch with that creativity, the creative aspect of being alive and human. And I think that, music is one of the ways of acknowledging that in ourselves, man. And, Mr. Bat is one of those dudes that is one of the people who turn that light on in you and in me and many other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Max, man, I want to know, is it cool if we play something off that record?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that song. I think it's called All Right.
Thanks.
You know that one? You wrote it, right?
I do. Yeah.
All right, so yeah. So this we're gonna give y'all a little taste of Max Moran and Neospectric.
Welcome to the phone. It's your main man, International Jones. I'ma need you to buckle up your seatbelts and roll the windows all the way down. You know what the phone, sharing is caring, and I can dig that. This band has more flavor than Baskin Robbins. Keep more heads bobbing, doing their job. Sound so big like two mountains colliding. Light years ahead, goodbye, big spread. Somebody asked me, can the phone stop you from being upset? I say it's water wet. But I have you smiling like you just got a check. You ain't gotta care, got love everywhere. Take a vote, it'll win every time. This for you, yours, and mine.
Yes, wasn't that funky, y'all? Come on now, that was crazy, man. Hey, who on that record, man? Everybody in the comments, like Kiana said, who is on that record?
Sounds
1,000,000 question marks.
On that song is AJ Hall on drums.
That's what I thought. I was like, that sound like AJ, bro.
Yeah. Condon Pappas and Shea Pierre on keys.
Woo.
That's Nicholas Payton on trumpet. The horn section is Chris Royal, Stephen Gladney, Jelani Bowman, and Steve Lands.
Wow.
And guitars was John Maestas and Josh Connolly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Conley soloing?
Yeah, that's
Woo!
yeah.
Yeah, bro, that's something else, man.
I think that was his first take too. He just
Really?
blazed it.
Wow,
Man, I remember
that's
Josh
insane.
Conley over at Noka. Like, I'm sorry, it's a totally random story, but like he came in, like I guess it was like our sophomore whatever year, but he like was moved from Georgia maybe, and like he only played like I don't know Delta
Carolina.
blues, North Carolina, but he played like just blues, man. And then like within 6 months, he was like shredding like bebop and all types of like jazz vocabulary. It was like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a genius, in my opinion.
Yeah, bad
Yeah, bro.
dude, man.
All y'all some geniuses sounding like that, you know? Yeah, to me, like I could definitely hear, like you said earlier, the Parliament influence, but the beat placement sounds more New Orleans to me. I don't know if that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
What would you say about that?
yeah, I feel that. Also, I didn't mention that Fiend is the guy that's doing the voice at the
Oh, yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
He's a great rapper from New
Mhm.
Orleans. But yeah, that makes sense to me. And it wasn't that I necessarily thought about it, but I guess AJ has been living here and checking out a lot of New Orleans drummers,
Yeah.
and definitely has like that feel. And all of us are here. I don't know. I feel like things just kind of get filtered through you naturally
Mm-hmm.
through like where you're coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wasn't really trying to. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really trying to
Man, I
go
think
for something specific. Things just kind of like come out a certain way.
I
It
feel
was
like the
definitely influenced by Parliament, but then I didn't tell everybody,
Right,
hey,
right, right. I
we
see.
gotta play like this.
Right.
It's a lot of just like letting cats play how they play. So
Absolutely.
that could be how the New Orleans thing comes out.
Yeah.
I love the way you said it, like with the New Orleans thing. It's like, yeah, we all lived here for a couple of years and we just let it filter through us in the way that we see fit. And it's like, I
Yeah.
feel like that's the only real way you can truly be a New Orleans musician. Like you can't play New Orleans music if you've never lived here because there's no such thing as New Orleans music like that. Like New Orleans is an experience and it doesn't matter if you're playing traditional jazz or funk or whatever. Like that's what makes New Orleans music is living in New Orleans, filtering that experience through you and then playing a style of music, whatever you see fit. But it's that experience of living down here, man. You can't, it's not like, oh, the eighth note's ahead of the beat or it's just a little bit behind the beat.
Right. It's culture. Yeah.
It's culture.
And I want to talk about, this last half of the interview, not the whole time, but some of the time, the business of music. And I'm curious what things you've picked up through the years, specifically about things that you can pass on to the next generation, so that they don't have to jump through the same hoops that you had to. Some of those they can avoid.
Hmm. Man, I might not be the best person to ask that question.
You learned something, bro.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm blanking right now because the whole world is upside down and the whole music industry is upside down as well as everything. I don't know, man. I guess in general, finding ways to finding ways to be of use will ensure that you will have a job. And but then also not finding ways to not just rely on somebody else giving you a job, because look at where we are now.
Right. Absolutely.
So and that process is different for everybody, because it depends on what your skills are,
Mhm.
and depends on what you have to offer and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
um but I say, if you can find something that you enjoy doing that is useful to other people, if you get good at that, then you can make money from it.
Yeah. Luckily, as a musician, you have to do 30 jobs anyway. So, like for instance, a job that I learned to do with Greg, because we have this nonprofit that this podcast is happening through, Second Line Arts Collective. And the name of this podcast is the Working Artist Project. But I learned to edit video. Greg might have been the first person to even teach me. He was like, "Oh yeah, man, you just do this and that." I'm like, okay. And so right now, before we got on this call and when we get off of it, I'm going to be editing video for a project. That's how I'm making money right now. And so you never know those little skills that you pick up, how they're gonna, bless you later on at a different time in life.
And
Yeah,
you also never
absolutely.
know how like all like these random things that you pick up along the way are going to combine also to like
Yeah,
make something else, whether you're a
absolutely.
great drummer, you got video editing skills, and those things can combine in whatever way you see fit, and,
Yeah,
and again with the internet you can market it however you want.
yeah,
Max, like leaving school, maybe we've touched on this a couple times with, late at night with a couple drinks, but like, man, how leaving school, I know you lived in New York for a while, and but maybe you could talk about like your expectations of what you thought being a musician was going to be like leaving school,
oh,
and then
Leaving college.
like leaving college,
yeah.
and then kind of what happened, or at least like what your experience was, or if you found that there was like any discrepancy between like how you thought things were going to go or what the experience is going to be like versus like what your experience was in the last like 10 years, because you've done every type of gig there is, and I feel like you've actually have an amazing resume and play with all the cats, man. So I was wondering if that was something that you think about.
Yeah, I think one expectation from college, especially Berkeley, was that like I'm gonna get some big, awesome touring gig. You know, like I feel like a whole lot of players. If you go to Berkeley and you want to be a player, a performer, then like I feel like most people probably had that mindset. It's either like I'm gonna be a band leader, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
touring,
Mhm.
or I'm gonna have a sick gig with like Beyonce,
Right.
or you know,
Mhm.
um, but that doesn't happen for everybody. And I think one thing I've learned recently is that like whatever you thought might work out, if it doesn't happen, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. You know, it's just like maybe you're meant to be doing something else, or or you might get in that situation and then realize it's not what you wanted. You know,
Yeah.
um, so it kind of goes back to like what we were talking about with just acquiring a lot of skills and being open to changing and evolving, because
Absolutely.
you can get a great touring gig, but then what happens when they decide they want somebody else, or what happens when they decide, oh, we're downsizing the band, it's just going to be a DJ for this tour, then you
Dude.
then you sitting at home.
I
So
would
yeah.
always, man, it was funny because like even after doing the Buble thing for a long time, there was always, I mean, it was always speculation, but like I think everyone in the band was always like, next tour he could go out with a quartet.
Mhm.
Next tour he can go out with a DJ. Like you said, like the work is not, you're not like in the band forever.
Right.
Right, yeah. So
No,
it's like you always got to keep working, and if you're gonna make music your living, then you really can't like get lazy or expect that like the next gig is like the last gig you're gonna need.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be
Absolutely.
prepared.
Man, you reminded me of today. I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was saying like sometimes we get lulled into this steadiness of about life, and we forget that every chapter in life closes at some point, and that chapter sometimes can be your job. It can be that because he was interviewing this concert violinist who went to Juilliard, and she was world renowned, and then she got an injury, and so all of a sudden she can't play anymore. This is before COVID, and and just like now we're all like, wait, we used to tour and do these things, and now that's not available. So it's like in your identity is sometimes tied up in that idea of yourself, and so you got to be like, okay, well, if I'm a plumber now, then am I still, who am I? You lose yourself because you got to pivot. So we have to be cognizant of that as entrepreneurs, that maybe our skill set is needed somewhere else for a little while or forever, and you got to be okay with that and know that you can create and be creative in a different venue or avenue if needed.
Sure, man. That's a great point. And I also used to feel like I had to make all of my money from music, or if I
Mm,
didn't, I wasn't like a real musician.
right.
And I find that's false. That doesn't make you
Absolutely.
a real musician or not. Like I'm trying to get into where I primarily make money outside of music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And not saying everybody needs to do that, but you just because you do that doesn't mean you're a failure at being a musician.
Oh no, no.
You know,
Yeah, but
but
shoot,
that's a thought I had as a college person or shortly
okay.
out of college.
Yeah, these kids are hit with a whole different challenge now because maybe if they're finishing school soon, then they're about to get a degree in something in an industry that doesn't exist. Do you think it's ethical for universities and things to continue these programs in the same way without any change uh, after we're experiencing what we're experiencing
That's a deep question.
now?
Hmm. Man, well, is it ethical for McDonald's to sell hamburgers that they know are actually terrible for you?
Don't buy
Absolutely
it.
not. That's the answer. Don't buy
No
it.
matter how many Michael Jordan eats. So I was watching the Jordan documentaries. I know he has like a Big Mac commercial at some point.
Yeah, he didn't eat it, though. I promise you that.
And don't get me wrong, like I learned a lot of great things at school. Um, but did I have to go to school? No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to is that no one really has to go to school.
No, but
Uh,
it's just it's an American culture. Like, okay, you finish high school, you go to college, even if it's a degree that you don't necessarily like. No one's ever asked you, hey Max, before I get you on this gig, I'm gonna need your credentials from Berkeley.
right.
This it's the only way that I know that you can do this trade. No one gives a shit that you went to Berkeley. They care if you can play your instrument. And so, but these guys, kids are going to school for $50,000, $100,000 for an education, and now you may not be able to make any money doing it at least for a year or two. So
Hmm. Yeah, at least not performing. I mean, that
right.
that whole thing is definitely going to be different for a while.
Mhm.
Um, but I learned other skills there. Like I learned about production and engineering, which I still use, and
Absolutely.
uh, I end up using like more and more all the time. Um, I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought.
So like with all those things going on, like what are you doing now to stay creative and keep your time going and make it through this time of whatever. It's the great time of whatever.
Yeah. It's up and down, honestly. And I've been playing a little bit with friends of mine. We started a new band, Big Nacious, and so we play a bit together. Um, those cats have been like writing a lot together too. Uh, I have projects in mind that I want to finish that I have been kind of slowly working on. Basically, the next Neospectric album or EP. Trying to write that. I'm also like I've been helping with some like writing and I guess you could say arranging for another person's album. That's been really fun. Um, and it's kind of been like a mix of trying to push myself to produce things to um, be productive, be creative, and also just being okay with not being productive at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a time for that too.
That's such a hard thing to get as a musician because we like grow up and it's always like in music school, like you're fighting for the first chair, you want to get the solo or whatever it is. And then, you got to shed 6 hours a day until your hands start bleeding and your mouth, your gums are torn up or whatever, or your lips are chopped or, but then there's like a certain part of life too, where it's like, yeah, like what you're saying, man, it's so hard to have to like embrace both sides of the hustle, like being totally into the hustle and actually excelling at that. But then on the flip side, not always holding yourself to that standard, man. Because
I saw a guy on Instagram. I don't even remember his name, but he's like a writer, motivational speaker or something. And he said, we're all like obsessed with the grind, but that word means like to wear something down. Yeah. So if you only grind, you're always grinding, you're just wearing yourself out. Eventually you get to a point where your returns are less and less, and you start hurting yourself,
Yeah, diminishing returns.
You gotta rest at some point.
Absolutely, man. Listen, man, before we go, is there anything you want the people to check out other than your record with Neospectric?
Yeah, they can check out Greg's record that me and Darrian are on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Don't listen to that record. No,
Greg's 2 records.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I have a website. It's maxmoranmusic.com. And I haven't really told anybody about it, but I put on there some tracks that I made that are like more TV and film music productions.
Cool. Yeah.
Sick.
So check that out. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, maxmoran.com. You got like a Instagram.
No, sorry, maxmoranmusic.com.
Okay, sorry, maxmoranmusic.com. And
you could end up on an artist website like I just did.
That's right. Go on there and listen to some of his TV and film, and then write him a message and let him know exactly, no filter, just let him know exactly what you think, man. Troll him and all of that because he loves it. But yeah, you also have, I'm sure you have an Instagram and some other things people can connect, how they can connect with you.
I don't right now. I think I might put my Facebook back up, my Facebook page, musician page.
Yeah.
But as of now, I'm like taking a break from there.
Okay.
But you can contact me at maxmoranmusic.com.
There it is.
I envy you for taking off of Instagram and Facebook. It's something that one day I may do, but I just I can't do it yet. I'm not ready to let go.
I understand.
Yeah. Cool, man. Max, man, thank you so much for coming on the Working Artist Project.
No, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah, I'm Darrian Douglas.
I'm Gregory Agid. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Next Monday, we have the wonderful Lakeisha Benjamin joining us. And yeah, we hope you guys have a wonderful week. Those of y'all in New Orleans, stay safe, stay dry. It could rain at any point, so just know that just because the weather's been nice so far, it might start raining in 20 minutes and flood all the streets.
That's right.
All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much, and we'll catch y'all next time.